There you go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Today, we're going to have a little bit of fun. So, we're going to make it all about the men as best we can tonight. So, stay tuned to this. It's early, so we're going to wait for some folks to come on and get into the chat. I see Almond Eyes checked in. I don't know if she's still here. So, Hunting Wisdom. Uh, you know, I think on my show, it seems like it always takes around 10, 15 minutes for folks to show up, and that's good. That's fine. I can rattle off at the jib. I'm trying to get a little bit better at just doing that. And just so I can just give you kind of a brief outline of what we're going to talk about. You see the title of the show. It's okay to be a masculine man. And we could, you know, retake or reclaim the narrative of what it is to be men and the kind of things that we believe. Now, I might not hit on all the things. That's why I have some other guys. If they come up on a panel, they could add their 2 cents on what they think it is for them to be a man in today's day and age and how they feel under attack or in how they could combat some of the social, the lack of cultural mores, the change in the environment in terms of laws and the way things are today. And is there a pathway back to the way it used to be? And do we really care if there's a pathway back? Can we carve a new path back to the future when men were men? You know, that's the way it's supposed to be. I think we've seen this experiment, and it's a big fat failure where men are no longer in the leadership positions. I think the country is much worse off now than it was before. Hey, Catelia, hello, how you doing? Wow, so at least there's somebody out there who likes boomers, you know. I guess I think I'm becoming my favorite boomer too. I'm just joking. There's a whole bunch of us out there. I wish they were a little bit louder. Just on a side note, they think that most of the boomers are for the status quo in terms of the Democrat Party, and I think that might be true. But I'm seeing more and more boomers my age, those of us who are left, who finally have gotten the revelation that maybe we should think differently, if not for us, for the people of the future. Anyway, so back to this thing, like the title, Reclaiming Our Narrative. There's a couple of things that came to mind. I have a list of things, but I have a couple of videos and a couple other things that I'm going to be looking at. And well, the first thing is that in recent times, a lot of people say, men are born with no value and things of that nature. We have to earn our keep. But if you really think about it, not too long ago, even in America, I know in other countries, men were born with, and they were expected to be leaders. Men were born expected to carry the family name. There were high expectations of men when they were born. I mean, in China, their one birth rule, they used to delete a whole lot of female babies because a man on a farm in the rural areas, they had no need. They wanted sons. So in African cultures, what I know about it, the males are premium. Everybody knows women have their importance, but every man wants a son. Even in what's left in the Western world, men want sons. But we've been flipped upside down in our country because the culture is dead and the social mores and environment has changed to where being a man is like almost being an enemy. And I think we need to stop that. I think it's a little bit late for men to start to wake up. And that's why we have so much trouble on YouTube. They're quick to banish men from YouTube and things of that nature. For standing up for themselves. There's a couple of content creators on YouTube that are actually on a hit list that was been at least in part sponsored by the Department of Homeland Security. We're talking about guys like MTR, another guy, the Legion of Men, a few other guys who are just content creators who are just pro men. They're not saying anything or doing anything subversive. They just believe that men have to carve out a better future for men to take their rightful place as leaders in our society in order to, in order to put things right. All right, what's going on? Del Monte Green Beans, what's going on there? Welcome to the chat. So we're just getting started here. And so I want to kind of dispel a few things as I go. The first thing is that a lot of men repeat this too. Like I said, I'm going to go back over it, where they think, well, yeah, of course, men have to earn their keep. You're born as a man. You have to earn your keep. But the truth of the matter is that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody gives us anything. There's no safety net for men other than the culture and the expectations that we used to be born in. Like I said before, there's still a lot of cultures throughout the world that place a premium on having sons. And the expectations on those sons are very high. And high expectations is what every person needs, not just men, but women as well. Your expectations of people help guide them along because they know that there's people out there who expect something from them, right? So there's nothing wrong with having high expectations. You don't have to be a helicopter mom or pop for that kind of stuff. But I have my two girls. I have high expectations of them, and they responded to that. And some people actually tell me that's a little negative because if they weren't as successful, they'd be married and all that. I said, well, in this climate, there's no guarantee of marriage, even for the best of women. So I wanted them to be self-sufficient, and that's exactly what they are. So they're in a good spot. They'll be good for anybody if guy's smart enough to scoop them up. Anyway, so that's my thing. So I just wanted to get that thing clear that the only place I think that men have been deemed less than or almost worthless is in the West. I think in the rest of the world, that's not how they see men or boys. That's not how they see us. Black David could chime in anytime he wants about how they expect what they expect from Black Africans or white people, for that matter, in the Western world. I know the Arabs have expectations for their men. So if I had sons, I would have high expectations for them. I wouldn't be letting him succumb to the bullshit that goes on in the schools and stuff like that, where he has to behave like a little girl and things of that nature in order to be a good boy. Absolutely not. He's not going to be playing with dolls. He'll be playing with G.I. Joe. He's not going to be painting his fingernails or wearing his mother's sandals or slippers and shit like that. That wouldn't go on in my house. Anyway, so I don't have any sons. So that's that. So every man who has them, I hope you agree with me. Anyway, so let me just move on because we got some videos we're going to show you, but not right away. I got a couple more things. A lot of times in these spaces, when we talk about men and dating, we say, men are invisible to women. A lot of men are invisible to women. That's not entirely true. Hey, Lou Medic, how you doing? That's not entirely true. Hey, take heed to the message. Listen, men are not really, all the men are not really invisible to women. I'll give you a breakdown. They say 30% of men between 18 and 30, if you Google that, and you can look at sources and all that, say 30% of the men have only had maybe one sexual encounter in the past year. And they're not saying they have one a year, but when they did the survey, it was just one encounter for most 30% of the men between 18 and 30. Now, if a man had one chick every year from 18 to 30, he's not doing too bad, but that's not what they're saying. But let's just say those guys make up dudes who are not lucky with women. They might have some social anxieties. Those guys might have encompassed a group of guys that they call incels and things of that nature. That's 30%. It's statistically significant. But that says that 70% of men, are able to have relationships with women. 55% of those men, or so let's just say, are in the middle, the bulk of the men, 55%. They're not rich, they're not poor, may be college educated, they may just be craftsmen. These guys have girlfriends. They might have wives, they have girlfriends. They might not be Latin lovers, but they probably do okay with chicks. That's still a significant amount of men. They ain't lonely. They might not get the cream of the crop. They ain't going with IG models and shit. That's not real world. So there's a lot of men who don't have any problems with women. Really, they might not have the pick that they want, but none of us do. In terms of when you're out there searching. And then there's 15% of men. They say 20, but I think it's more like 15% of men, whether they're handsome pookies and ray rays, gang leaders, or multi-millionaires. Those 15% of guys have the pick of the litter. All the women want them. They don't have no trouble banging out honeys, right? So all I'm saying is that 70% of men are not invisible to women. And so no matter what people say on the internet, I don't know why they have this thing that, and I think men need to be careful about repeating this narrative that most men, are awkward with women. They don't deserve women, because I think the bulk of the men out there have the woman that they deserve in terms of at their level, right? I think, so it's only 30% of guys who have trouble in that area. And it's a lot of men, but 70% is not a bad, that's not like saying men are walking around like doofuses, don't know how to deal with women. It's just not true. It's not true. I mean, I have a lot of male cousins. None of them seem to have any problems having chicks, man. A couple of them are married, if a guy like me could get married, shit, man, there ain't no great shakes. So that's all I wanted to say on that. So when I hear say that men are having trouble with the honeys, they don't want any of the regular men and all that. I mean, you know what? I'll give some women some credit. Okay, the credit I'll give women. There's a lot of women who know their level. We don't see them on Instagram and TikTok, but there's a lot of women out there who understand that they're not going to get the top 15% of men. And if they ever luck up and get banged out by one, they know he ain't coming back. So they'll, one way or the other, to end up with just a guy at their level, middle class working man, middle class working woman, get together. The fact that the marriage is all messed up is a different story, but those situationships, those regular relationships, those non-committal kind of entanglements everybody gets into, there's millions of those damn things out there. You know what I'm saying? There's a million people, wherever there's men and women, somebody's getting laid. It's just as simple as that. So, and the men, as awkward as some of us may be, we're not the pathetic little earthlings that people try to paint us out to be. There's some men who are very comfortable around women, whether they're rich or not. It's just the truth. So I wanted to dispel that whole thing that, men are invisible to women. I mean, if you're a hard hat guy and you're whistling at tens up and down the street, they're not going to pay any attention to you. That's not how to approach them anyway. And anyway, so that's that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the no narrative that women keep touting, that men are falling behind educationally and in buying houses. It depends on how you look at the data and depend on what's true. I think men are practical. Hello, Milani, Elite T. Hello, welcome aboard. I think men are practical. I think a lot of men will forego going to college right away and go to a trade school instead. Everybody knows college has been, priced outside of the market for most people, men and women. But women look at getting a degree as a flex. So, but they don't have the guys, and this is the parents' fault, but they have people allow any student to go to school, get thousands of dollars in debt, but get a degree that's worthless on the other side of the market. That's crazy. If you're going to go to school and get 50 to $100,000 or more worth of debt, it's got to be something that you can get an immediate return on your investment. Most men, from especially middle class guys and lower, are not spending that kind of money on a humbug. They'll either go to the military or they'll go and get it on a government's dime, or they'll go to a trade school and learn a trade, HVAC, electricity, electricians, uh, car repair, a lot of things out there where you can actually go ahead and market your skill, build a business around, do those kind of things, as opposed to spending all that money on school. And so on that, some sisters might look down on those guys because they're not with their pinkies out and shit and got a little bit of dirt under their fingernails. But those guys are the backbone of the country, to tell you the truth. And the blue collar guys, the white collar guys is when they, if you just got a college degree and they're cutting jobs, you're the one out of work. And you don't know how to generate, you would know how to generate money on your own because you're not working for anybody. Those guys with trades, the recessions hit them differently because people still need shit, and they need their car repaired. They need this, they'll need that. So they'll need HVAC, they'll need all those kind of things, electricians. So that's the one myth that we got to get past. Oh, we're so much more educated. Oh, that's just horseshit. You're going in more debt as well, and you're not coming out any better for it because you're not getting any high paid jobs, not for the most part. And the guys, the guys that you might overlook, they're the guys who would hold you down in a pinch. It's another myth that just came to mind. I'm gonna just hit that real quick. Listen, ladies, if you got a husband that and you guys are together, of course they say relationships too. If it's not married, I kind of play condescending to just hookups. But anyway, if you're married to a guy and you're young and you guys are in lockstep, you can move mountains together. This notion that a woman or a man can't succeed while married is just bullshit. It's real bullshit, man. And I don't know who. Well, we do know that the puppet masters want separate households so they can get multiple incomes. But if you have a spouse, a loved one in a covenant marriage, you guys could move mountains together. It's incredible. So I don't understand. I don't think we'll ever get back to that, or at least not in my lifetime. But I think the pendulum has to swing. Hey, daughter, how you doing? I think the pendulum have to swing back to that sooner or later. So that was one thing. That's a little side note. The second thing I wanted to say that's a narrative that has to go away is that buying houses is something that young people have to do. Women buy houses like it's a flex, like it's some kind of status symbol. I think, I equate women buying a house when they don't have nobody to put in it, just like they used to say about a black man marrying a white woman. It's a flex. Neither one of those are completely true, but it's still a flex. You know why men don't buy houses when they're young, even if they can have a great job? They'll buy a house if it's an investment property so they can get money off the rent. They'll do that. But men don't buy a house so they can move in and they don't have a family to fill it in. Men generally don't buy a house unless they have a wife and some kids to build around. That's what men do. I didn't even think about buying a house until I was married. And matter of fact, when I got married, my firstborn, we still lived in an apartment. And then I said, well, when the second one's coming, I said, we need more space. We need a house. And that's when we bought a house. And that's how that went. I think that's how most men think. And women don't think that way. And I've seen some videos. You guys have been all over social media. There's women who buy these houses, they stick their breasts out and say, I got a house. And then a few moments later, they're talking about, well, their mortgage went up because they didn't read the fine print. They're feeling unsafe because, oh shit, this place has 100 windows and it's just me and there's nobody else to answer the door. Oh shit, you know what? I'm getting nervous when guys bringing my packages to the house. Now these guys know my address. What happens if they just bust in? What can I do? So, and then all of them say all this bullshit, but none of them say, I should have probably waited till I had a husband, so I had somebody to cover me. So this whole notion about those two things, college education, well, men understand practically that unless they're going for engineering or being a doctor or being something that can give them food on the table as soon as they get out, it's not worth going to college if you're going to have something you can't get a job with. And there's a list of things that are good, not just STEM, but you have to research that shit before you start spending money. And as far as a house is concerned, it's not a flex to buy a goddamn house. Not if it's just you in it, and you can't really afford all the things, the repairs and stuff, just so you can tell your girlfriends, got a house. Men, we don't operate like that. We don't, and we shouldn't. I didn't say men shouldn't buy a house, but most men I know who are into real estate, they buy houses so they can put tenants in it. Even if they buy a house to live in, somebody's living upstairs, somebody's living in the basement. They're strategic with that shit. They ain't just paying a mortgage because they want to flex because I got a crib. You know, a lot of us would be just comfortable living in a cave until we find a wife or a woman. That's the shit that feminine women do to men. They 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 enhance our purpose, especially if we're family men. They don't take us away from our jobs, our professions. They give us something else to care about. And you know what? We do that shit willingly. Men do. I mean, that's why in relationships, I'm gonna get to this later. That's why when men and women are married, our obligations far exceed the obligations we expect from our women. Our expectations for a husband far outweigh the expectations of a wife in a marriage. We have a greater responsibility. More on that later. And any woman want to come up and argue that, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Black Dave, if you back there, I would like you to play that first clip, if you don't mind. The clip 0, the bonus one. Brother speaking some facts to the sister. If you're at there, so you know which one it is. Hopefully, it'll work. But anyway, and on that last part for everybody out there, if we want to, all the married ladies out there, or ones who are not married, if you want to talk or discuss, not argue about that one thing about obligation, we could do that. Go ahead. Hopefully it works. Let's roll. Not that one. Not that one. That's not the right one. I hope you had the. I hope you had the. It's a bonus. It says 0. Bonus is. Did you get the? Yeah. Did you get the updated email? I think you have it. Well, it's all right. Take your time. Take your time. It's the one that says speaking facts. Clip 0. Yeah, that one. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, this is an old one that some of you might have seen before, and it's short and sweet. So, oh, we can't hear it. Damn it. you, and would you say you vote for King Kamala? That's funny. Go. More power to you. Yeah. Well, we haven't. So while Black David does that, what we're gonna do with that first video once we get it playing, it's an interesting short clip. I think some of y'all might have seen it, but just in the meantime, we'll just keep plodding along till we get that thing because the sound just didn't come on, Black David. That's all. But you got the right clip. Anyway, what I'm gonna delve into after that is we're gonna talk a little bit about the erroneous notion that there's any such thing as toxic masculinity. That is just complete utter bullshit, right? Because it's something that was started by I think a gay man and feminists trying to demasculate and emasculate men in order for us to be down a peg, so we will forget who we are and that our natural traits of masculinity are somehow negative, somehow wrong, somehow too domineering to give women a chance to participate in it's just bullshit. It really is. I can give you the definition. You can look it up. Definition of masculinity itself is the qualities or attributes regarded as characteristics of men and boys. And I can give you those line items: fertility, maleness, manliness, vigor, strength, ruggedness, toughness, robustness, and of course, stoicism. And so we'll get back to that. If we can get this to play, let's do.
Lie. That's not a lie. That is a lie. That's not a lie. You tell me. Listen, there's not a lot of good men who want y'all station. They're at Costco. They're at Equinox. They're walking right past you, and you don't show up on their radar because of the way you are. They're gonna walk right by you. Your pretty face ain't gonna go too far because everybody's pretty. That's a prerequisite. So if that's all you got to offer, we're not looking at you. But there's plenty good men. They just don't want your ass. I ain't never heard no woman say, I know I ain't shit. When have you ever heard a woman admit to not being shit? She'll say, this man ain't shit. He ain't shit. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. But for the most part, every woman think they're a good woman. What makes you a good woman? You are auditing yourself. Why don't you ask your exes what they think? Because all your relationships diminished and ended in turmoil. There's not a big pool of good men. That's a lie. That's not a
lie. That's cool. Thank you. Anyway, that's kind of a culmination of what I already said. It's just that there is a pool of men out there for women, right? It's just the fact that whether y'all see it or not is not men's fault. It's your fault. There's a lot of hardworking dudes out there. They just are. I mean, any notion that there's not is just a flat out lie. It's a lie. And every man is not a Casanova. Every man, a lot of men will just want to have one chick that he can settle down with and have a family with. I believe that's most men. The whole notion of men cheating is a reality, but it's also a projection, because the new data says that women cheat a whole lot more than men do. And listen, us having a secret bank account is a cheat as well. So it's not all sexual. So ladies cheat in a lot of different ways. And, it all culminates in the biggest betrayal. But, most men ain't out there just trying to bang out a lot of ladies. It's just not. We constantly want sex, but that's a different story. Anyway, so here's the deal. So again, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. A male is inherently masculine if he's raised right, just like a woman should be inherently feminine. And that leads me to the next thing. Women are not masculine; they just lack femininity. Right? That's my thing. I think when men give too much credit for women by calling them masculine, I think that's an affront to what masculinity really is. It's really a lack of femininity that women portray. And that lack of femininity plays itself out in what people call masculine, but really it's not. You know why? Because masculine men don't wield masculinity the way you do, the way you think you do. That hard, that raw, that loud, rambunctious, angry black woman shit. That's not what men do. That's not what a stoic man does. That so-called masculinity that you call masculine is really just a lack of femininity, because guess what? You're acting outside of your nature. And when you act outside of your nature, you look crazy. And just like a man who acts outside of his nature, we call him effeminate, sassy. We call him this, we call him that. So we give you credit by calling you masculine, but that's not what masculinity is. It's some abomination of, if there's anything that's toxic, is when women fail the masculinity, because y'all don't know how to do it. You'll just become undesirable. But masculinity, wielded properly by a man, is what a lot of women desire. Women desire masculine men. Nobody desires masculine women other than maybe for a nice ride in the hay. You know, uh, that's the bottom line, and that's why a lot of sisters have a lot of trouble with women from elsewhere talking about femininity. But that's another story. We're not here to talk about y'all. We're just trying to say, leave our masculinity alone. If you want to be hard ass and boss babe, that's cool. But don't call it, the men, don't call that shit masculine, because it belittles what we are by saying that they're a representation of us wielding masculinity. Women are not masculine. They just lack femininity, which is the real way to say it. And that's what they need to fix. They don't have to become less masculine. They just need to become more feminine. And that's not for us to do. That's their agency. That's another thing, man. We're not in control of that shit. I was going to hit on that too. Man, we could be leaders, but one thing about being a leader is also understanding that you don't control everything. We don't have to control everything. That's just crazy. We are not responsible for every goddamn thing. We're not. Leader or not. We're just not. And we got to get that shit through our heads. When I hear men come up here, aren't you the leader? Women use that shit to gaslight us. Aren't you the leader? Aren't you the leader? Yeah, I lead some shit, but I ain't leading you. Right? You ain't my woman. I'm not leading your womb. I don't own that. You do. So there's a lot of things. The fact that you're masculine, it's not my fault. Because as quiet as it's kept, I think feminine women get much further ahead in life than women who lack femininity, because they have more tools. Now, they're more desirable. They have more tools. You could be assertive and be feminine. You could be single and be feminine. You don't have to have a husband to be feminine. You don't even have to want to be. You could do all the things you want to do. But I think femininity is like more sugar as opposed to a hammer, right? It's honey as opposed to a sledgehammer, right? Or a hatchet. So men, we shouldn't be apologizing for being masculine to anybody. When we hear women say toxic masculinity, we should challenge them on it. We see a man saying that men are toxic, we should challenge them on it with a little bit of shame. Grab your balls and stand up like a man. You know what I'm saying? Our nature is to be masculine. And who the hell are you to tell us that our masculinity, our nature is toxic? That's fucking bullshit. And I'm trying to minimize the F word, but I had to throw one in there. But the bottom line is, I'll give you a little bit of history from where they say toxic masculinity came from and how it's been propagandized throughout the society, mostly in the West, of course, so it could demasculate men, emasculate men, so we can move out of the way and genuflect and bend the knee to whatever is going on now with the chicks, and we already have receipts of what it looks like when women run the things that men used to run. The receipts are all in. I don't even have to go. You go to any blue city, any blue inner city, and even though they got a couple of male mayors in there, you'll see the disaster all over the place. Any household, and all that. So we don't have to go down there. Men are needed. We need to, and this is our fault. We need to start to reclaim our rightful place where we need to be. And it's going to be a slow process, but it begins with us talking about it. It begins with us not being ashamed to be men. And we don't need to apologize because we got dicks. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop apologizing for us being men. I mean, that's crazy. Everything we say to a woman is not misogynistic. It's not. You know, we could tell a woman the truth. They're going to try to put a woman in the White House by making one other man say everything he says to her is misogynistic. And, you know, but she might not even have to put one policy out there. Anyhow, so Black David, if you hit clip number 1 by Brother RZA, that's it. Hit that one. That clip is a good one. This is a short one. It's 2.5 minutes. RZA, he's a Muslim brother. Right? It's the one that you try to put up first, that guy. So I know you have it. Anyway, so again, listen, after this one, if anybody wants to pop up and just say a couple of words, I have a couple more stuff, but the panel will be open to drop in.
Masculinity, toxic masculinity, and you also mentioned the war between genders, especially the men and women, primarily black men and black women. But just that, I don't want to graze over.
It's sticking, it's glitching, man. Damn.
Two Caucasian men, Shepard Bliss and Robert J. Stoller. Break it down. Listen to that term and realize when you listening to idiotic people, toxicity and masculinity can't coexist. Neither can femininity and toxicity. They can't coexist. That's why you never hear the term toxic femininity.
That's right.
The goal is to destroy the masculine security base so the people will be taken over and obliterated. So they always got to demonize the man. Why you want to come at a man who's being a real man, teaching the children how to operate, respecting a woman, but also protecting her, letting her know, hey, listen, no, baby, don't wear that. Don't go out over here at night because it's dangerous. I love you enough to protect you. Why are you saying, oh, that's toxic? No, that's not toxic. That's called order. It's called discipline. Well, then they say, well, no, it's when a man tells a young boy to stop crying and suck it up and he can't do. No, that's also called discipline and order.
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. See, I agree. Not beating your children. For sure. Let's get this clear. Some people have adopted the slave master's tactics where we beat. I'm talking about beat children, and you're doing it publicly, and you're recording it. It's
like a whipping post.
The hell do you think is going to happen to that child's psychology? One is going to develop, or she's going to develop a hatred for you, and then develop a hatred for men, black men, if it was a man that did it, or black women, if it was a black woman who did it. So you got to think. Discipline and order have to be established, and we have to do it in a way where it doesn't traumatize the child, but it instills order and gives them discipline and helps them to understand right from wrong. But the biggest way that we do that is by being an example of it ourselves. That's the first thing. We telling them not to do something that we doing every day. And they're like, but you, all right, you keep doing it, but you, I say, Nas, I do it. But no, that's not how life works.
It's a hypocrite.
You not only are you a hypocrite, but if you keep doing a negative thing and there is no consequence for it that the child can see, then they think they can do the negative thing and there won't be a consequence. It's psychology. I'm keep doing it, but I don't see nothing bad happening. I guess I can do it.
You can stop it there.
Reason why Brother RZA didn't go ahead to the banging world, Robert, because I saw the consequences of it with my own brothers.
Black David, you
I
can
saw
stop
it. Getting tossed in police cars. I saw it going to funerals. I saw it being put up, my face picture put up in the liquor store when I was 9 years old because I was trying to steal from the liquor store. And they took my picture and they shook my little hoodie out and all the candy and everything fell out.
Thank you. Anyway, listen, he said a lot of good stuff on the toxic masculinity stuff, and I agree with him, especially even up to including how it's up to an individual But when he said about corporal punishment for kids, if I had a son, maybe I would have thought a little bit different, depending on how much he bucked up against me. But my daughters, I expressly didn't want to hit them, and I've said that plenty of times on these channels, because I didn't want them to think that the man that they love would actually has permission to put his hands on them, and I didn't want that for them. So I had to always be more cerebral with my daughters, and so and that was cool because we have better communication relationships now anyway because of that. And so they understand where I come from. And when I talk to them, if I have to admonish them, they understand it because I have to do it verbally, and I've done it since they were little girls. And so now that they're grown women, I can get through them very, very easy. Uh, and if I have to, I mean, they don't really need me for all that stuff anymore anyway. Can everybody hear me? I see some things going on. I'm good with this one, Black David. You can take it down. Anyway, all right. All right. So a couple of things. I have some more. Anybody want to chime in or drop the link or whatever you can? I have a little bit more here on leadership in marriage. And I'm not going to be long on this one because I know a lot of people aren't married. And I am somewhat condescending on regular relationships, and I shouldn't be, but I am. I can't speak on them because the range is so broad. So when I hear that people say men control relationships and women control sex, well, the relationship part is not entirely true unless you're married, because women control those situationships and relationships and friends with benefits and all that. I think it's 50-50. I think women have a lot of control over those relationships. Unfortunately, women have too much control in marriages, but we'll get to that part. So I don't really, when I talk about relationships, I talk about from a covenant marriage standpoint, because that's what I am. I can speak on that. So one of my biggest peeves when it comes to marriage is when I hear a man says that she allows me to lead. And I'm saying to myself, what the hell does that mean? What do you mean she allows you to lead? What the, and really, I don't even wait for the answer. I said, because first of all, if you're married, as a man, you assume leadership from the jump. Or why are you getting married if you don't? It's an assumed leadership. I mean, I didn't think that there was any question that if I'm the lead of my household, I didn't have to go to my wife and ask for permission for that shit or even discuss it with her. I think when well, we got married, it was just right off the bat. You're following what I say, and if I'm an idiot, you know what to do. So I built up enough trust in our courtship that she understood that she made the right choice. That's one of the things I tell guys. Listen, before you get married, you got to be pretty sure that your woman views you as her first choice. You got to be as sure as you can. There's always a risk reduction. There could be chameleons and all that other shit. I know. Even though I'm coming from a different era, women have always been clever. They didn't just start being clever because they had the internet. So, you just got to be in tune enough to figure that out. And then at the end, you could never be 100% sure of anything, but you can't move through life with a scarcity mindset, and not be a man at the same time. That shit's crazy. We can't do that. Those two things are antithetical, right? So we have to take risks. They just need to be calculated. And you have to put the proper things in place to make sure you protect yourself. And that's it. Now, for me, I didn't have like a prenup, but I wouldn't tell a man today with assets to get married without one. Back then, I didn't have anything. So I freely give half of what I have to my wife, because she helped me build everything we have. So, but that's not the case these days, especially when women are waiting at the finish line for a man who has it all. So that'll be different. So men have to make a different calculus. So anyway, so that whole thing is that when you're in a marriage, you have to assume the leadership. Now, are all marriages where the men lead? No, of course not. But the vast majority of them are. So these exceptions don't make the rule. The house husband thing, no matter how popular it's supposed to become, it's still not over 10%, or if that much. You know what I'm saying? So there's a mix of people, and if your woman is working and you're working, you still need to assume leadership, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what the mix is. You still have to assume leadership for the things that you need to be the leader of. Now, if you just break it down to cooking and cleaning and that kind of stupid shit, you both have responsibility to do that for your household. If you were doing it as a single man, you shouldn't have any problem doing it when you're married. Same thing for a woman, right? If you were paying bills when you was a single woman, don't give me no shit that you don't want to pay bills when you're a married woman. So, those kind of things you're supposed to work out with your spouse. Uh, you know, when you before you get married. So those are not a big deal unless we make them a big deal. So the only thing that square man has to stand on in this household is that he's the leader. Now, does that mean you control everything? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't have to control everything. Because if you're an effective leader, a woman will operate in her autonomy under the umbrella that you guys created, and you won't care what she does because she's not going to go outside of bounds. That's real control, right? When people just stay in bounds because they want to. That's the key, guys. If you have a woman, everything she does for you and with you when you're married, it always works better because she wants to do it. Because she wants to do it. There's no more power than somebody wanting to do something for you without you having to coerce her to do it. So that's leadership, that's power, that's being a man. My woman does everything for me because she wants to. Period. And the things she wants to do for me are things, and anything else that's left over, I could do for myself. I don't have no problem with that. So anyway, that's just another thing. So that's just the leadership in marriage. When you're married, it's just a covenant. And I'm going to get to that one later on. The other thing is, I got a whole list of stuff here. So you guys got to get it all, man. Y'all can chime in anytime you want, but I'm going to keep going because I got another video coming up. Just one part. Anyway, it's a couple of parts, but I don't know how much of them to play. The next one, men need to stop taking agency away from women. We need to stop being responsible for the fuckery that they do. We should just stop. We should, and when we're on these panels or when the women begin to gaslight and say, well, this men's fault too, blah, blah, blah. No, everything is not equivalent, right? We do not own your wombs. We don't. We might want to play in it, we might want to be, we do. That's what men do. Let me tell you, I said this before. Every healthy man, whether he's a good man, bad man, shyster, religious, or anything else, every man's natural imperative is to have a sex with women, with you. That's what it is. That's what we do. That doesn't mean we get it. That doesn't mean we have to act like crazy apes and shit like that, but it's what we want. If I take you out on a date, I don't necessarily think I deserve date because I just gave you an ice cream, but I took you out on a date because I want to open a pathway to you giving me some drawers. Right? I mean, let's not act like we don't understand what that shit is. Right? And so, everything doesn't have to be a one-night stand, but the truth of the matter is men want sex from women and we'll take it from you any way you give it. And so I try to say that if a man has sex with you raw, you're both at fault, but you are the most at fault because it's your body. He might be stupid, and I'm going to get into dick discipline in a second. He might be stupid, but you have to let him in. And you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways because in the courtroom, if he stuck it in without your permission, we all know what that is. In every level, local, state, federal, if he took it without your permission, we all know what that is. So if it's true in the courtroom, it's true in the bedroom. No man can enter you without you abdicating your womb. And these days, you got to abdicate it more than once. Even mid-coitus, you got to say, okay, yeah, you can still do it, in some cases. And then after we're finished, you could say you didn't really want to do it and I'm screwed because the court of public opinion will get me. So let's stop taking agency away from a woman. If a woman's having sex with you and it's under mutual circumstances, it's because she let it happen. Because men are going to take it from you regardless. And I tell you this, that doesn't make us equivalent in the action. But the outcome, right? If you ever happen to get pregnant, yeah, a man's responsible for being stupid for that, right? He's responsible, and he doesn't get away scot-free because if he has a job, he has to pay child support for 18 to 21 years. And I'm going to get to that later. So it's not like men could walk away. A woman could walk away because you can go to any clinic and take care of it. And a man has no say in that. So you have more rights than we do when it comes to that activity. So let's so men, this is really not a message to the women. This is a message to you. Stop taking agency away from a woman. If she gets pregnant, she got pregnant because, she let you have sex with her during her ovulation period. And, she had a choice. She could have told you no. And yeah, you had a choice. You could have said no. The chances are you doing that are a whole lot less. It is. It is. I mean, it's just a natural fact. We got receipts. We all have receipts. If you live a minute, you know that you have receipts. Now, here's a scenario I'll give to you, and I'm going to move off of this subject. If you have a girl that you've been coveted to have sex with, and everything's right, you're in the room, the music is going, she's butt naked, and so are you, and you went to put on, a man went to put on a rubber, and she said, what are you doing? You're not having sex with me with that rubber on. Give me the percentage of men who are going to put their clothes on and go home, or say, okay, honey, we're not having sex tonight. Put your clothes on and let me call you an Uber. Give me a percentage of men. 10%? 5%? What percentage of men are going to turn down, it turned down a nice, ready, warm box? What percentage of men? And so in that scenario, we know that a very small men are going to be, a percentage of men are going to be able to walk away at the moment, in the moment. Period. So that's my whole defining line. So men are just presupposed to take sex from women, especially if she's giving it to them. We just do. It's a natural thing. That's another thing as a man. We got to stop apologizing for the fact that we want box. We got to stop apologizing for the fact that we want sex from women. Okay, I would say my Dr. Umar shit style. We got to stop apologizing for the fact that we want sex from women. We should stop. That's what we want. And every single woman knows that. There's no bullshit. And let me also tell you, I was the last woman you heard that worried about a man's body count. They don't give a shit that we have experience. So, I mean, it's funny. Anton Daniels had a guy on the show. He was 52 years old. And I just happened to be watching the show. He was a virgin. He was a virgin, if you believe him. And he had like 4 or 5 women on the set there. And the guy otherwise didn't, knowing that he was a virgin, he automatically looked kind of goofy. But other than that, he was a decent looking dude. And every woman to a woman said they wouldn't have anything to do with him. They didn't want to have anything to do with a guy who hadn't popped a cherry in his life. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep it a buck and keep it square. Women want men who have some experience, and every man who is healthy wants to have sex with women, and we need to stop apologizing for that shit. Now, let's get to the dick discipline part. Let's get to the because this has to be some discernment there. And I appreciate you guys letting me rant. I'm feeling good here. Anyway, so the dick discipline part is this. We got to stop telling young men that, get your act together. Stop worrying about the honeys. Get yourself on the grind, make yourself meaningful, and the sex will come. Well, part of that is true. But in the meantime, he's not going to just want to beat his meat all day long. He's going to want to have sex, especially if he's younger. So what we really need to do is tell him that dick discipline is about understanding the consequences of having sex with a particular woman. That's the real thing. It's not just have dick discipline. It's dick discipline is understanding the consequences of your actions for having sex with a particular woman. You could name the kind of particular woman. If she's just a woman for the streets and you don't know who she is, but she wants to have sex with you, right? Okay, you are most likely as a young man going to take it. You could be an old man too, because it's stupid as well. You're going to take, but the point is you got to understand that if you get her pregnant, you're going to be on the hook for a better part of your life. If you're 18, can you imagine paying somebody money until you're almost 40 years old because you made a mistake in your 2-minute shit that you lasted, right? And then, or here's another thing, fellas, and this is more important. Listen, if this woman is a woman for a 304, a woman of the streets, and you don't understand the consequences of sticking your meat into that warm incubator without protection, you get what you deserve, right? Because a woman's womb is like a valley of all kinds of stuff. It's got to be taken care of, and if you just go willy-nilly into the night, into that dark, moist night there with no protection, you got to be out of your mind, right? So you obviously don't know about the consequences, right? So the fact is, if you teach a man or a young man about sexual stuff, because they're going to have sex, and it's bad for a man of my age or any other age, tell a young man, forget about sex and just get on your grind. The get on your grind part is true, but he's looking at us saying, oh, wait a minute, man. No, you guys had all the fun that you could get when you was my age. How are you going to tell me not to do? So what we need to do is emphasize the consequences. Emphasize the consequences. So that's what gives you the discipline. Understanding the consequences of your actions will have a certain outcome. And that outcome, if it's an undesirable one, it should give you pause for whether you're going to go ahead and be stupid or not. It's as simple as that. And I don't think we talk about the consequences enough. The consequences of being a baby daddy, consequences of catching a disease, a consequence of actually maybe even ruining a woman's life. The truth of the matter is, because there's so many extensions to this. It's the love extension, right? If you're a guy and you ain't ready to settle down, and you find a woman, especially maybe a woman who has kids or a kid, and she's looking for whatever security, and she likes you and you like her, but you have no intention of marrying or staying with a baby mama, right? I think it's wrong of you to have sex with her in the first place, because the consequences is not necessarily on you, it's on her. Because the consequences, if she keeps inviting you back, she's catching feelings, right? Okay. Any man who doesn't understand that if a woman keeps inviting you back for sex, no matter what she says, she's catching feelings. She's catching feelings. If you don't know that, then you're a fool, right? So if you have no intention of doing anything real with any woman, not just a woman who's a baby mama, any woman, you either have to let her know up front or don't have sex with her at all. And then letting her know up front is not really effective, because she don't hear what you say. Not if you keep coming back and knocking it out. Because what you said, now you're giving her a mixed signal. So that's part of leadership and part of manhood to me. When you get to some level of discernment, that's when you start turning down, a sex, because you understand the ramifications of what you're doing. And it's not fair it's not fair to keep going back to a woman that you have no intentions for. That's why we got all these chicks on TikTok and shit mad at the fucking world, because they want to believe that the way to a man is by giving him some boxes. No, that's not. It's not. It's not. It's what you do for him afterwards that matters. If he wants it, you know. So that's the one thing. So really, from a man's perspective, we have certain control over. We necessarily naturally we want to have sex, but we have certain control on how we wield that weapon. We do, you know, we really do. But the fact is that, let me tell you though, man, women, no matter what we do, you are responsible for the opening of your womb, and it's time for men to stop taking away that agency from you. It's yours. When you're born, that womb is yours to protect. The virtue is yours to keep. And when you give it up, you have to have a certain amount of understanding of the consequences as well. But this is not about women today. We're talking about men, right? So again, just understand that every man you encounter, no matter how nice he is, this is why men don't believe in that friend zone bullshit. When you have a boyfriend or a man or a husband, he ain't buying that the guy you think is your close friend is just a friend. That guy will bang your ass out in a second if he had the opportunity. And most men don't want his women around other guys who will bang her out in a second. It's as simple as that. And you guys know it too. That's why y'all keep gaslighting men, you know, but you understand that. And every man who acquiesces to that, oh, he's just a friend, is a goddamn fool. You know, so it's as simple as that. You know, I mean, so this is, man, just it's time for us to just say, listen, we are who we are. Take us or leave us. But we ain't buying some of the bullshit no more. You know, so anyway, on the dick discipline, understand one thing: dick discipline is consequence driven. If I had to sum it up in an elevator speech, dick discipline is consequence driven. That's what that is, right? Once you understand the consequences, that should drive what you're going to actually do that night with a particular woman. That's it. Everything else is just conversation. And I say it this way because I don't want to tell men they shouldn't have sex, because that's going against our nature. And that's an uphill battle that I think we should stop fighting. We should just emphasize the consequences. Anyway, that's enough. Hey, listen, I do have another video. Black David, and we only have to play the first part. And this is Andrew Tate with Pierce Morgan. And just that first part. The second part, we don't have to play no more. Just between 140 and 444, that's it. And then we can go back to me on a rant.
Where is the line for you between masculinity, which I will always defend, and which I agree with? I think a lot of women like men to be masculine. Toxic masculinity. And the reason I ask you is that you are engaged in that debate with men all the time. Where is the line for you where men shouldn't, where the behavior should be kept within a line?
Please define toxic masculinity.
Well, you tell me what you think it crosses a line from being a masculine, good man to a bad man.
There's no such thing as too much masculinity if it's genuinely masculine. Genuine masculinity is not out here to hurt people. It's absolutely the opposite. It's out here to protect. And when bad things happen, they call traditionally masculine men. If you need a firefighter, you need a masculine man. When you call the police because of the problem you had, you want masculine men. And as soon as a woman or a man is in trouble, when you look for backup, you look for masculine men. And masculine men have a duty to provide and protect those they care about. We have a duty to do things we don't feel like doing because we know we're supposed to do them. And that's why we stayed in the Titanic and died. Those were masculine men.
Where did you get your views about this from?
This is what I grew up with. It's the family I grew up around. And
your father, your mother?
Yeah, and the world I lived in. And I think a lot of the things I'm saying now about masculinity and how people should act in the world, how the world should function, were considered completely normal and accepted by everybody only 20 years ago. I think the world's just lost its mind. For me to stand up and say a man should protect a woman now gets to be called a misogynist and canceled. If I said that 10 years ago, everyone would say, duh. And what's funny is everyone who argues against me and says men shouldn't protect women, especially all the feminists, if they were with their boyfriend and a man broke into their house, guess who they'd expect to go downstairs? Who do you think? Think they go themselves? Are they going to Afghanistan? No, we send men to do these things. So
Well,
all
we
this
send
garbage,
women. We send women in the armed forces too.
you have to generalize when you make points.
There are many courageous people.
Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
No, but you've got to concede there are many courageous women serving in the armed forces.
Absolutely and utterly, completely correct. But by and large, traditionally, soldiers are men. Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
Well, it's not an exception. It's a fact that there are a lot of women now in the armed forces.
Correct. But if you were to take the average soldier, they are a male. If you're allowed to say who's a male and who isn't nowadays, I'm assuming their gender. I apologize. If you were to take the average soldier, they're a male, which means that exceptions are the female soldiers, which because there's a lower percent of them, a lower probability. Exceptions do not disprove the rules. Men do the fighting. Right now in Ukraine, men cannot leave. Women are allowed to leave because men have to fight in the front line and women are allowed to go to Dubai. That is how it is.
What do you say to young men who come to you for advice, who feel lost, who don't really know where they fit into society?
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit. But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten about how difficult and how competitive it is as a man. We're always in constant competition with each other. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible. And I need to work hard to achieve those things.
Dame Sheila Hancock says we've become too over-emotional as a society, crying too much about everything. Has she got a point?
She's completely right. And the dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty, not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel, and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely not wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely not wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You just suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
Tough being a woman too in modern society.
It's certainly tough being a woman, but I'm not a woman, so why would I speak on issues I do not understand? I'm a man.
You can feel an empathy for women.
I feel empathy, certainly, but I do not understand their issues.
See, a lot of men come up to me and they admire you. I've got to say, a lot of women I've spoken to don't admire. They think you represent.
You can stop it there.
They think when they hear you not commit to saying the Taliban shouldn't be banning women from university education.
You can
why
stop it there.
Can't he just?
All right, cool. So he said a lot. He said some of the things that the only thing I understand, he's talking about modern men that we don't have no value, because that's pretty much the way it's been set up in the West. But around the world, that's not necessarily true. But the end result is almost still the same. The fact is, as a man, you got to earn your keep, and that's okay. You know what they say, iron sharpens iron, that kind of stuff. So that's fine. I think we live with that every day, and that's cool. The other thing he said, and that's my next thing I wanted to talk about, is that this gaslighting about emotional intelligence. And men out there, let me tell you, you got to be real careful with all that. When women start talking that bullshit that they want you to be emotionally tied to them and tell them all your mushy gushy shit and all that kind of stuff, man, don't freaking do it, man. Don't. They want you to be like a woman, right? That's not how we operate. Now, it's okay to tell and I'm talking about people who are married in a covenant marriage. I'm not talking about folks who are just dicking around, boyfriend and girlfriend. I definitely wouldn't tell just a girlfriend all my deep, dark secrets. Hell no. But even with your wife, my wife, you have to be careful. And there's a couple of reasons, I'll go into them. But, it's not like you don't tell her anything. But you can't be boo-hoo, whining and crying on your wife's shoulders, right? There's two reasons that I have. There's probably much more than that. And one is I guess, a superfluous reason that, she could turn on you and use what you tell her against you and all that kind of stuff, your vulnerabilities. The next time you have an argument, or if y'all break up, she might tell people your deep, darkest secrets and stuff. That one is true, but that's not the big one. the real big one really is that if you're boo-hoo whining and crying on your wife's shoulders all the time and letting her know what your weaknesses are and you're vulnerable here and there and all that horse shit, right? When it turns time, if she has an issue in her side of the relationship that you don't know about, she may be reticent to tell you about it. She might not tell you because she might think you're too dog shit weak to handle what's going on. And so the worst thing is she might go try to handle that shit on her own. And the last thing you want to do as a married man is have your wife handle problems that might impact the family without telling you about it. Because she thinks you're too dog shit weak to handle it because you just last night boo-hoo whined and cried about your fucking vulnerabilities. So when the women try to gaslight you on that, man, just tell them, shut the fuck up, man. I'm going to tell you what, no, stop. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't tell them that. I'm just firing for effect. Just let them know that, listen, let them know what they need to know. Let them know what they need to know. I mean, I've been married for a long time, and a lot of the shit that I had to handle as a married man for my family, my wife doesn't know about. And it wasn't anything real critical. But if I had something that I had to inform her about because it was so critical, it would be because we were in dire straits, right? About to lose the house or something like that, and I would have to solicit her help for something. But all the rest of the stuff that I could handle on my own, I did. I didn't need to bring that and put the burden on her shoulders. And if I had some issues at work, I could come home and say, honey, you know what happened to me at work? The boss said me something. He called me a bad word. Listen, don't fall for the gaslighting thing. That emotional intelligence is knowing what not to say to somebody. That's not knowing just sit down here and be emotionally collected. I'm emotionally connected to my wife, but in a way of a husband should be to his wife. It's my goal to make sure that she's safe and her goal to make sure I'm taken care of, and we symbiotic that way. But, no. The answer is no. This whole thing about trying to be I saw a guy, he's one of these clips, and he was talking about how him and his wife connected on some emotional. I mean, I kind of threw up in the back of my throat, man. What are you talking about? And she looking up at him, yeah, he's making me feel. I mean, it's just bullshit. It's just absolute horseshit. Because a woman will never forget what you told her, and whether she looks at you a little less, that understanding of what those vulnerabilities are, she's going to make an assessment as to whether you can handle the pressures of life at some point or time if it happens to occur, and she might not trust you to pull y'all through. Because you just finished boo-hoo whining and crying on her shoulder about some stupid shit. So when you hear women talk about all of that horse shit about, emotional intelligence and you need to feel me and all that shit, man, listen, man, that's a ball grabber. Just grab your balls and tell her, shut the fuck up, man. And no, I'm not telling you everything. I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. And if I have any receipts, it works out just fine. My wife goes to sleep without wrinkles on her forehead every single night. In 5 seconds, her head hits the pillow. So, and that's because of me. And that's fine. That's my service to her and her family. Because I don't boo-boo on and cry to her about everything. Not at all, about almost anything. Right? So that's one thing. So forget about this emotional intelligence stuff. Go read the book. It was written by a man, by the way. And so, and just find out what it is and what it's not. So don't let the women on the panels and all that kind of stuff talk about you need to be emotionally connected. And, I like to see the tears roll down your cheeks and, oh, man, oh, baby. Oh, Jesus Christ. Listen, just don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. Oh, man. Okay. So I have one more. And I got one more video that we're going to play both. And then anybody who wants to come up, we could talk. I got one more, and there's so many more. So these are just off the top of my head. The last one that I wanted to talk about and rant about is that We are not partners. Me and my wife, we are not partners. We're not partners. Now, I can't speak for people in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. Y'all just kicking it and shit. And y'all have a word of mouth LLC going, and with no real commitment and shit. She could come and you can go as y'all please. Y'all could call yourself partners. That's cool. But once we got married with the vows as a covenant between us and God, we're not partners. Not partners. My obligation is not a partnership. All the spirituality, all of the vows, the covenant, all of the things that God will hold dear is in that covenant that we have between each other and Him. Now, is there a partnership aspect to a marriage? Yeah, there is. That's the state shit. That's the marriage license that you sign that tells you that you and her are cleaved, and here's the rules you have to be married by. And here's what's going to happen if you leave each other. And here's this, and here is that. Yeah, that's a partnership. You might as well have an LLC based on that thing. And that's a lower level base part of, do you have your paperwork done? Okay, that's the partnership part. There's no spirituality in that. There's no love in that. There's no like in that. There's nothing in that other than just business, right? And if your marriage is just business, don't get married. Just become partners. Go get a partnership agreement. Go to a lawyer, get an LLC and shit, and we got a partnership with benefits. That's possible. Maybe that's the new marriage. Don't say the vows. Just get together. Get an LLC. Find something that y'all can sell together and shit. Maybe like you'll make a YouTube channel for couples as a LLC with benefits. Get it monetized and build it into a conglomerate. Hey, how about that? That's possible. But you still need paperwork, right? You need the marriage. If you have a partnership, even with a woman who's your partner, you need paperwork. You have to protect the children if you have children. You have to protect some assets, because if you're in a partnership long enough, those lines get blurry. But if you're in a marriage, your wife is not your partner. She's not. And if you are courting a woman and she can't get past the fact that she views you as a partner, I wouldn't marry her. I wouldn't. Because when women use the word partner, they mean exactly that. They mean a secular partner. We're equals. My Johnson is as big as yours, and I want to have as much say as you do in this relationship, because we're partners. And if you don't hold up to your end of the bargain, and even if you do, and I feel like moving on, I will, because there's no fault divorce. So all I'm just trying to say is, don't fall for the okie doke. Even if you love the woman, and she's going to be around, I wouldn't let her into my inner sanctum if she only views me as her partner. My wife calls me husband. I can't remember the last time she called me by my Christian name. She just calls me husband. Matter of fact, I'd probably feel weird if she called me by my first name. I didn't ask her to do that, by the way. She just does. And I respond to that name. I do. So anyway, the bottom line is, we're not partners. And you know what? I hear that creeping in mostly with women. All the women say that. I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for a blah, 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 blah. And every time I see a woman saying that, she's just looking for somebody to pay her bills. I don't see anything about what she's going to give that partner, what kind of love she's going to have for the man, what kind of anything she's going to do for him. And then when I start hearing men starting to acquiesce, to start saying, this is what my partner's going to do, as opposed to saying, I'm looking for a wife. Your mindset is, and you don't even know it. If you're a man and you're looking for a woman to be yours, especially forever, but if you start looking at her as a partner, as opposed to the definition of what it means to have a wife, your mindset is changing, and your expectations for her in your relationship is a whole lot less than it should be. It's a whole lot less than it should be. And it seems trivial, but words have meaning. Words have meaning. I went up and down the Bible and I try to search on partner. And there's some stuff that has to be read in context. It's very little on there. Well, when they talk about marriage, they talk about a covenant between men and women and God. And these days they're having some states trying to come back with covenant marriages and things of that nature. Something that was a given when you just said the vows and meant them. You know what I'm saying? No fault divorce has brought a lot of stuff, a lot of destruction to marriage. And now marriage is almost completely secular. You might as well just be on the street and have a hobo, with a Bible, saying, just say I do and kiss. That's pretty much how people look at marriage these days. So all I'm just trying to tell you is, get it together. Yeah, fellas, reclaim what it is to be a man. We've got to stop apologizing, like I said before. We got to start standing on something without wavering. We gotta challenge women when they gaslight us and other men, mostly other men. We got to let women make sure we stop taking their agency away from them, no matter how much they're trying to move away from the fact that they own their own wombs. And the only time they want to own their own wombs is when they want to delete babies. But everything else, no, it's a shared responsibility. Stop it. Just stop it. Anyway, so Black David, I have a last clip, and then whoever's still left, you want to talk psych hacks. There's 2 parts, but this he's pretty good. If you ever seen some of his content, now he talks about how to be a man.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is how to be a man. It's a simple question, and one that 100 years ago would be ludicrous to ask, because back then, everyone just sort of knew what the answer was: an identity crisis in men. How we got here is extremely complex, but here is where we are. Now, some forms of masculinity, such as machismo masculinity, are fairly complex. This is because they are performances, unwritten etiquette, all rules, inserts. However, this form of masculinity, femininity, essentially performative. Neither is a suite of behaviors, and each is an expression of a particular time and place. These forms of masculinity and femininity can be learned, and skillful execution of their respective suites of behaviors both express and confirm status in men and women. Many of the answers you'll hear on the internet to the question of how to be a man correspond with performative masculinity. They are things that you can do to signify your man status with props, costumes, and postures. These could be things like grow a beard, lift heavy stuff, start a business, go fishing, go hunting, learn to start a fire, learn to drive a manual transmission, learn to seduce women, learn to fight, learn to shoot a gun, learn to grill a ribeye steak, talk knowledgeably about sports, drink beer and appreciate whiskey, etc. Now, I don't have a problem with any of those things. A lot of them sound fun and could prove beneficial to the individual in question. However, I do think that all of those responses suffer from defining masculinity essentially as a suite of behaviors, as a performance. Now, I have a different take on this question. As you can see, I'm not a guy who's very performatively masculine. I work with words in a very feminized profession. I've never played football or scaled a fish or roped a calf. However, when it comes down to it, I'm extremely masculine. And this is because what it means to be a man is very simple and only marginally associated with what you do or what you look like. Are you ready? To be a man is very simple. You need only 2 things. You need a spine and you need some balls. That's it. If you have a spine and you have some balls, then you're a man. And just so we're clear, I'm not talking literally. All humans have a spine and all males have balls. What I'm talking about is a spine and a pair figuratively. It's simple, but not necessarily easy. Let's talk about each one individually, shall we? First, what does it mean to have a spine? A spine means that you are willing to stand up. Anatomically, you need a spine to stand erect. Figuratively, you need a spine to stand up for what you believe to be true, which is, in your heart of hearts, who you are. And this, of course, presupposes that you actually know what you believe to be true, and this ain't easy. Most of the things in your head were put there by other people, and a lot of that stuff is total garbage. For most people, it takes years and years of patient self-study to learn what they believe to be true. So young guys get a pass here, though it's important to acknowledge that we tend to make their jobs harder by filling them up with so much distracting nonsense to begin with. However, there are many older guys, men who I speak with on a regular basis, who don't know what their values are and consequently don't know who the fuck they are. And how are you going to stand up for something if you don't know what that something is? Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, then please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. And if you're, it's those three little dots in the lower right-hand corner, and tip me in proportion to the value you believe you've received from this episode. I really appreciate your support. Where you stand in relation to the universe. This is because as soon as you stand up, you cast a shadow, which situates you in a specific place between the heavens, literally the sun, and the earth, your immediate surroundings. Unless you are completely on this plane. Among other things, this you make it known who you are in position to that, the shadow. People will disagree with you. People will disapprove of you. Some people will despise you. And the taller you stand, the more some people will threaten, attack, and seek to destroy you. This is part of the risk of standing up and having a spine. And this, of course, is why we rightly respect people who stand up for what is right, despite the risk of doing so.
Oh boy, is that over? Yeah. Oh, is that the rest at the end of it? Black David was just messing up, huh? Anyway, but anyhow, you guys got the point. I mean, I wanted him to go through the last part of it, but so he could talk about the balls. But I guess you could get the drift. You just need to have just all the ingredients to be a man standing on his square, and have the courage of your convictions and a little data to make sure that whatever you're convicted about is correct. And that's what that really is. And I think we've gotten away too much from that. Hey, Joshua, you asked me a question. You could come up in the back chat and ask me as opposed to me answering, because I don't know the context of what you're asking for. That'll be better. You're not in the back chat, but in chat, you can go into the cloud. And welcome, Miss Dee. I appreciate you stopping by here. I know anybody who doesn't know Dee, she's making it happen here on these YouTube streets. I'm sure Black Man Unfiltered. Appreciate you coming there. I don't know how much of my rant you caught, but hey, sis, I'm thinking you're gonna have to go back and look at some of this video. So, because if I had a chance to show off in front of you, I wanted to. Anyway, so I'm glad you're here. And if you wanted to say something on this topic, feel free. Hunting Wisdom, if you want to come up and say something, feel free. What you think of what you heard? I know a few guys. I don't know if anybody's going to come up, or if you want to go into the cloud and speak from up above. You can feel free to do that as well. Or if all you heard is just, hey, that you agree, that's fine too. You know what I'm saying? Because I think I was pretty much on track. I think men need to start to understand the idea. Go ahead, Black David. What say you, man? What say you? Let's see if we can hear you. Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, we got you. We got you.
Now, I will say this.
Hey, Trey, what's going on?
Watching that video, it allowed me to look at things a little bit different because we have talked about this thing about
You're breaking up there. You're breaking up there.
masculinity. What I'm up again.
Yeah, you're
This
skipping.
what I
You're
have
skipping
issue
all
with
over.
StreamYard with connectivity. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm skipping right now. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I hear you right now. Go ahead. Yeah, keep going.
Now, this is what I noticed. We have spoke about it for many years, and people have been coming out trying to discredit men or put men down, bringing the so-called title toxic masculinity, when it's actually a false narrative, to be precise. But then again, then we have the so-called highly educated nincompoops who don't understand the terminology and the biology behind the term masculinity and feminism, why there's no such thing. But then what I say, if there's toxic masculinity, that means it's also toxic femininity. Now, you know they're not going to agree to that. But if that's the case, the other side of the argument have been debunked completely because you can't say that one exists and the other does not exist. That's the problem. We have so-called educated minds that are not really actually educated. It's more like people who skip classes, didn't pay attention to their note or to the professor, um, trying to cheat the exam, and they barely pass. They barely pass to get that degree, so to speak. So that being said, when you have that nonsense coming out, it sounds, I don't know what to call it, snowflake. Is that the case? Because I'll be
Yeah.
quite honest, throughout history, everything has been based on manhood, masculinity, womanhood, femininity. There was nothing about toxic behind that. The only term that came about it back in I think the late 80s, early 90s, referring to people in the prison complex. So how you would take a terminology for the prison complex and apply to today's society. But yet now they're all having problem when men don't want to defend them no more. Men, they want to protect them out there when they're getting jumped or getting attacked. Men, they want to help a woman change their tie, carry their bag. But if I recall, I took a particular feminine movement so far to the point whereby you give us an option to, okay, we don't have to help you anymore. We don't have to protect you. We don't have to do shit for you. So what's the problem now? Now you want to grab your panties so hard and be like, oh, that is so unfair. You put to protect us. But I thought you want equal rights. I don't know.
I don't know, but you know,
I'm,
but again,
I,
but
I'm just calling it out because this discussion you're having, I have a feeling we will come and address this issue in the next couple of years. Will come back around again when they feel like they're not satisfied with what's going on right now with today's status quo. You have pushed something that in corporate America right now, everybody keeping the distance just to avoid any lawsuit or be removed from their workforce because of X, Y, and Z to be terminated. They get fired because when you bring these things up, God forbid you're a manager, you had to bring 2 or 3 extra bodies to protect yourself to make sure you got witness seeing that what really happened. This is actually happening in corporate America right now. People are taking necessary steps because if you work in corporate office, we got to take all kind of videos, training section on how to put to conduct ourselves around women.
Yeah, Black David, you're right though. But just that's a variation on the theme though tonight, right? I mean, even though you're correct, because none of that should stop us from being men the way we need to be men. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, you're gonna have to have some kind of decorum in the workplace when it's filled with women and stuff like that. And that's even before I left. You know, I remember one of my she was a coworker. She walked into my office. She had me to tell me something. she closed my door because I had an office. I almost had a. I said, you got to open the door. I said, you can't close the door. You know, I know you would have. We could go to a conference room or something or else, but you can't come in. You know, no way. I opened that door in 2 seconds, and she understood it. And the game has changed, but that's not the purpose of what we're talking about today. But we have to operate.
I get it.
So wait, hold on for a second. What I'm saying is the fact that what you just said has made men change who we really are and to accommodate those new conditions. And that part of it is wrong. That part, I'm telling men, you don't have to do that in order to make accommodations like that. You just got to protect yourself the best way you know how. And like, for example, if it's just you and a lady going on an elevator, you can wait for the next one. If it's just you and her. I mean, if you're really that paranoid about it, there's some people who do that. It depends on the situation. So anyway, but let's let Trey get in here and say what he got to say, man. What's going on, Trey?
Oh, what's up?
All right. Sound.
I didn't have any problems with what Psychax was talking about. He's a pretty smart dude. I've said this before that men are spineless. I've said that several times on several different platforms that men are spineless. And the fact that you can be moved off your platform or you can be moved off of your values or your moral code or your moral system, it's weak. You may not like me. I mean, he said that in it. A lot of people don't like me. I don't really give a fuck. I could care less. I couldn't care less, to be exact. I am who I am. I stand for what I stand for. I believe what I believe. That's not going to change without irrefutable evidence or proof that something that I believe is wrong. So, for a lot of these guys, the masculinity died when, women are withholding sex or husbands weren't getting sex. And masculinity died when they chose guns over meeting up in the courtyard and just squaring up and shooting a fair one. Masculinity died a long time ago. And the only way to get it back is for men to stand on their square and say, listen, this is the way things are going to be. And if you don't like it, to hell with you. But this is the way it's going to be. But you have a lot of men that are not going to do that simply because she got a fat ass and big boobs and she smell good. So you can be tempted and your flesh is weak. So you can be moved off of your square just purely based on her feminine wiles, or your square was never stable enough from the beginning, so the foundation was always shaky. So you could be moved anyway. It didn't take really much to change your mind, or you're practicing idolatry. So some celebrity has told you that the way what you were doing is wrong, so you decide to do it a different way. Men got to get back to being men and standing for what they truly believe. And that's why I ask a lot of dudes, so what are your moral code? Where does it come from? What is it built on? Is you just making it up as you go? Do you believe, is it based on the laws? Is it based on Bible? What is it based? Universal law? What is it based on? What is your moral code? Where does your value system come from?
All right. So, but you got more, because Hunting Wisdom asks a question that might be germane to what you just said. Can you see it, Black David? Can you put it up? Hunting Wisdom is says for the gentleman, if you believe in having that one right there. So kind of on the theme you were talking about, Trey. I mean, this is okay. If you believe in having a purpose, what do you believe your purpose is? I would imagine, right? And it depends on your time of life. But I think if I would just take a stab at it, my purpose is to achieve. Now I'm married. It's a purpose to take care of my family, which I've done and which I continue to do. Is to be a good man and to obey the basic laws of both man and the laws of God. Believe in Jesus Christ. Those things. It gives you purpose, something to live for. That's what my marriage is. My family is achievement. There's a lot of things that, your purpose will be. There's a lot of different things depending on your time in life. When I was a younger man, my purpose was to have a job, be married, and raise a family. Now, a lot of that is done. So I had to find, along the way, you reinvent yourself to keep those things, but add things to it, right? So your purpose could be a lot of stuff. It could be secular, it could be non-secular, it could be things like writing, doing YouTube, keeping yourself busy, being around people who are like-minded, so you can learn something. There's a lot of different things you can have with your purpose. But every man should have one, because if you don't have some kind of purpose, you're rudderless. Let me also tell you, and I'll end it here. When I was retiring, there's a lot of guys who were getting ready to retire, and they used to tell me, well, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't have a job to come to. And that's the saddest part of all. Because when you spend your life and all you have is somebody telling you, here's your 9 to 5, and that's your purpose, and there's nothing else, not family, not some dreams, no aspirations, that's sad. That's sad. I tell people a year or two before you retire, find something that you want to do, that you a hobby or something you can wrap your head around, something that's going to fill your void, because those 80 hours a week, you're going to get back. Hey, you could come up. Oh, yeah. You don't have to be on camera, Didi. If the link is in the chat somewhere, if y'all could drop the link, Black Days, so Didi could come up and say a piece, I'd appreciate that. If you see the link is right underneath your chat, right there. Oh, she wants to have yeah. Trey needs to have somebody have a word with him. What you got to say, Trey, on that answer? For what do you have for hunting wisdom?
I don't know. I don't get wrapped up in the whole purpose thing.
Okay.
I think that I don't. It's just not something I don't think about it. If I tried to nail down what my purpose was, who knows? I mean, I never thought I'd be in the military. Never thought I'd go to Iraq. Never thought I would do this. Never thought I would do that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things I didn't think I would do. I did what was. I never thought I would mentor. There's a lot of things that have happened. I don't know. I don't get wrapped up in the purpose thing. I just.
Well, it's not one, but I hear what you're saying, because it varies with your phase of life. I would imagine that your purpose should change. It don't have to be one thing, right? It doesn't have to be one solid thing. It could be many things. And like you just said, I mean, part of the purpose of going to Iraq is to survive. That's another thing. So I hear what you're saying. So I agree. So Didi, did you see the link? It's in the chat. So. And you don't have to come on camera, but once you're up here, they'll notify us, and you can speak from the cloud. Anyway, so anybody else while we wait? I saw Joshua. I don't know if he had anything, but yeah, the psych hack thing is pretty good. I listen to the guy's channel every so often. He has some good tidbits. He's never too long, but he has some good nuggets that you could take away, because he don't have that look. He has that look of like a guy who just kind of everyday guy who has a little bit of knowledge about life. All right, so
I wish you would have got to the balls part. I think that's the.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the video just went dead or because I think we could have played that. He was going to get to that, but. The video was skipping back. I don't know. Was it skipping for you too? Because it was like really. The video, the second part of that video, Black David, was skipping bad. If we can get to it,
While I was playing the video, I got disconnected from the studio due to connecting
okay.
on StreamYard. I don't know what's going on. So I'm using both my PC and a laptop on the same time just to prevent that from happening. But
for an IT guy, you be having the most IT problems.
Yeah, I swear to God. Yeah. Hey, so the link. So the link. Everybody can see that link in the chat, right?
Look, you have an IT problem right now.
He's all frozen up. So I don't know if you heard me, TD, but you don't have, like I said, you don't have to come on camera.
Here's the thing.
But if you hit
this is more my provider issue.
Yeah, okay. Hey, we got Didi on the line. Hello,
with Verizon.
Hold on for a second. Let me say, hey, Didi, can you hear us?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Hey, listen, first, before you say anything, I appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, no problem. Can you hear me? I'm on my phone.
Yes, we
can.
What's
going on, Trey?
Loud and clear.
Hello, Didi. How are you?
Good to see you, Trey.
Good to hear from you.
Trey, you mentioned something about a big butt or something. You forgot about Bernice Burgos? That's all I wanted to say.
I knew you was gonna say that. I knew you was gonna say. When I read it, I was like,
Would you say the
Bernice
same
can't get me
thing?
to move off my square though. She can't get me to.
Oh,
She can't
oh,
get
she
my
can.
morals. She can't get
She
me to
can.
change my.
Oh, okay.
Not my morals. She might
Okay.
catch me at a weak moment. You know what I mean?
Okay. Oh, that's what I kind of thought. Maybe a weak moment or something. Yeah.
That's pretty
I knew
funny.
that. I knew you. When I read it, I was like, you know,
Look, she's still looking good. I mean, she's what 40 something. She's still
40.
looking good. So I just wanted to ask because maybe something changed.
Nah.
So, and let me ask you, Diddy.
Ain't nothing changed. I still like them full of plastic.
She is still a baddie, though. Is she still messing with the basketball player? Did she?
Nah, he left her for the other basketball player.
Oh Lord.
Oh man.
He left her for the
younger
I
chick.
remember that there was a guy that he got arrested. He played for Houston. He got arrested, and they said that he was having a domestic. And she first said that he did hit her, and then she changed her mind, said that he didn't hit her. Well, Jalen is with her now. That chick. She used to play in the WNBA. She got cut.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I think I know now. I know who you're talking about. So
and apparently
Diddy,
he might be dating Angel Reese too.
I saw that too. Yeah, he could be. He could be. So Diddy, did you hear? Do you have anything on the topic, or did you hear enough of it, or what?
Yeah, I heard a lot of what you were saying actually.
Okay.
And you talking about what masculine men? I know Trey say something about I'm in the chat. Masculinity is dead. Is it though? I don't think it's dead. I think I was agreeing with what you were saying, or Payne.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But a lot of women tend to take masculinity as control. Try to, they look at it as a man trying to be dominant over them or controlling. They don't. They want it, but they don't really like what it looks like.
True.
If that makes sense. Like a lot of women. Go ahead.
I said it does make sense. Yeah, that's probably exactly what it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of women have a problem with it, even though they say, y'all know how I feel about this. I think we probably talked about this before. A lot of women want I want a masculine man. Y'all hear them talk about it all the time, but when they get one, they can't handle what comes with it. They want the men to think the way they do. And I think that's probably why a lot of women leave relationships, is because they want their men to think like them and their girlfriends. You want him to respond the way you would respond. You want him to think and do things the way you would do it. And they don't understand that that's just not a part of a masculine man. Now, if you have a man that's gay, you might, that'll be cool. But your man who is that's just who he is in nature. He can't just change that up and flip it up because you're uncomfortable with it. And so, yeah, I think that's what women, y'all know how I feel. I just think a lot of women aren't really prepared for the things that they say they want. The things that they say they want, when they come in contact with it, it's a problem. And then if you are a man and you're not, and you're feminine, they don't want that either. They don't want that either. They know that's something a lot of women talk about, and they make fun of it. They make fun of that. They'll talk behind your back to their girlfriends about how masculine he is and girl, how he do this, but then they'll play in your face as if it's not a problem, but they don't want that either. That's why I say it's confusing with women sometimes, because you'll say you want one thing and then when you get it, you don't want that. You want something else. So I just think women want the control. Honestly, they want to be able to control every aspect of a relationship. They want to control how you move, how you think. They want you to do what they want you to do. That's it. Bottom line, if however they want you to do something, when they're ready for you to take control, they want you to take control. When they want you to fall back, they want you to fall back. They want you to act masculine, then they want you to be feminine and cry with them all day. So they want a bit of both of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think another part of that is I think that they have. I'm glad there's a
You're breaking up, Black David. You're still breaking up. Go ahead,
saying
there,
that
Craig.
there's
Finish up.
there's a thought process like there's a
because
thought they've
I'm waiting
conjured
for
up
me
in
to.
their head. Like this is what a masculine man's supposed to be. And then when they get the masculine man, okay, that's not what I had pictured in my head.
Yeah.
But this is what I had pictured in my head. That's not what I'm getting. And I think after they date a few men and they realize that there's some similarities in these masculine men, that this is masculinity, and that's not what they think in their head, they get a little confused. And that's where the idea of, for what Dee Dee's speaking about, the control comes in. Well, then I'm going to make them be what I want them to be then, right? You have black women going around talking about how they turn their white husbands into, this is what he became after, right? Because they want to make him into something, right? Instead of realizing that for a lot of men, masculinity is a learning progress. It's progressive. You learn more masculinity as you get older, right? I didn't always know how to chop wood. I had to go to my uncle's house to learn how to chop wood. Didn't always know how to fish. I had to be taught how to fish. Learning to be a man and what values and morals you'll stand on, you learn them as you get older. So the 21-year-old Trey that you would have met, masculinity would have been completely different from the now 39-year-old Trey that you meet now, whose masculinity is completely different. My morals and values are different now. You know what I mean? That's why Didi can make fun of me, because it's like, oh, you sure? Are you sure? Because you said this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's
we
funny.
have to get past this idea of this is what it's supposed to be, and accept it for what it is, and then make a determination. Okay, I don't want that. I do want this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add to that? There could be a
Yeah.
possibility that there's some women who either grew up from a single parent household, either mostly a mom, or they grew up in a two-parent household. They still what masculine really is, but just don't like it. They feel like when I get older, I will change the narrative. Because to be quite honest, I think most women who do that are highly out of their mind or they're delusional on a higher scale. Because from one, they believe at this present society they're in right now, they can dictate or direct or describe what masculine is supposed to be. And I hate to say that watching the mainstream media, watching today on YouTube or any other streaming platform, it only show one thing. In the West, any woman that take up this type of ideology, we have to be well aware that they person is mentally ill. And when I'm saying that in that type of tone, I know it's funny, but look at the grand scale. For 5 decades, what they've been trying to do, take masculinity in mainstream media. They're trying to dictate how the man's supposed to be. Now
Mhm.
that man is saying, you know what, you on your own. We ain't helping you. We ain't protecting you. We're not covering for you. We're not. It's it. All of a sudden now they want to rewrite the narrative. Like, make up your freaking mind. You can't
Well,
say you want one thing, then later on change the mind. I want this. Then when everything is clear, you go back. It's kind of like you never let a backseat passenger tell you how to drive. That's exactly what my uncle used to say that a lot. If you are a backseat passenger, you're not in the steering wheel. Shut the hell up. Too many women want to tell
I,
men how.
I'm with
And
you.
I've been saying it to even to my cousins. Even what my situation, I tell women, if you think you can raise a man, be my guest. Just make sure, and this man cannot protect you that you're trying to raise. Don't come to me, because if you do come to me, that will bring you a manly feeling to slap the hell out of you.
Well, you
It,
listen.
it's like saying what you ask for, be willing to accept it, either you like it or not.
No, it's all true. I mean, we're just like we're variation on the thing, but I just think that when we talk about men just standing on their square, it's just like the whole theme of this whole stream is just men just reclaiming who we are without apologies, without it doesn't matter how women see you, it's how we see ourselves. Right? Go ahead. What's this, David? Go ahead. She
Now,
got a question for you.
what 18 trying to put on Acme, we need to be aware there are women who are rebellious, who don't like authority, or they don't do it with authority figures. So they hope and when they get in the position of authority, they want to change the narrative. Today's election that we're having, that going on. No, no disrespect. I'm not voting for neither one. but I ain't definitely voting for women at all because first and foremost, I never see in history women who lead a nation and succeed in it. If it's not in the history book, I really don't care. I go by what have been proven, not some type of ideology or theory that haven't gone through the test of time. No, thank you.
Well, yeah, I know.
So
But-
it's not that hard to find people that in your circle who don't like to listen to authority. You see them out there. You have women who disrespect police officers or firefighter or anybody they feel like they can do whatever they want. They're out there.
The issue isn't that women have a problem with authority. The issue is that the submitting to authority isn't incentivized enough for them. See, they don't have a problem submitting to authority at work because the incentive is that they get a paycheck.
Right.
Right. So they'll submit to the authority there. Right. They may not like their boss, but they're going to do their job because they want their incentive. Right. When it comes to being with a man, the question is do they value the incentive of what a man brings to the table? And in most cases, a lot of the women don't value it. So therefore, they don't feel the need to submit to his authority because there's no incentive to do so.
Right.
So at the end of the day, what you have to ask yourself is what type of woman are you dealing with? Is you dealing with a woman who respects you and values you as a man and what you bring? And obviously vice versa, right? Her as a woman, what she brings? Is she respected? Or is this a woman who's just checking a box? You got a lot of women out here that are just checking boxes.
Checking boxes.
I got to get married. I got to have kids. I need a house. They just checking boxes. And then when all the boxes are filled, what do? They rip the paper off, tear it up, divorce, and they move on, right? So you have to ask the questions about that. But what I think a lot of men aren't doing, and this is to your point, Payne, about masculinity and the topic of your show, masculinity would make you stand on that square and vet her properly and say, either you're not qualified like old boy did on that balloon show, you're not qualified, or you are qualified. However, I need to ask more questions. I need more. Right. I need to find out more. That's a part of masculinity.
I agree. I call it respecting the gate. You know, you got to respect the gate because once you let them in, man, you're open to everything. So, it's definitely. So you hit the nail on the head, Trey. Didi, you have anything else to say on that?
No.
How long have you been married, Didi?
Oh Lord, damn near 26 years.
26 years.
Damn near 26 years. That's a long time.
Well, this month I'll be 37 in. So.
Oh wow, even longer.
Yeah.
Y'all want to know how long I've been married?
I was about to ask you. I was about to say Trey, and how long?
Trey.
Oh Lord.
No. Goosing. 0 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0
That's why we have all perspectives up here. We have all perspectives, you know.
Yeah. But you know, it's different. Like y'all were able to find. It's just different. It's hard to explain to y'all.
No, it's not. We do. I think we realize that.
Yeah. It like I was just having this conversation today about with a woman because they were talking about whether or not I was pro-black or not. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, that doesn't make sense for me to be like. So if I meet a woman and she's a good woman, she's respectful, she's loyal, she's appreciative, she's a good woman. We get along, right? But she's white. I'm just supposed to be like, oh, well, sorry, honey.
Yeah, that's
you ain't got the right complexion. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think those days are over. I think those days are the ones that's over. If you find a person that, that's why I'm telling you, if you find a person who's white or any other color, man, we can't rest on those old laurels, those old things, man. Not anymore,
Payne, I hate to reject, those days been long over a long time ago. Because if you look at history, people have been dealing with other race more than 100, 200, 300 years ago.
No, I know that. That's why I'm saying it's not really a thing. Definitely, like you're saying, it's not really a thing anymore. I think it's an individual thing. And just whatever, I think there's less and less pockets of resistance. I mean, I wouldn't go to, Alabama, Billy Bob's, tavern with the Confederate flags on it, but almost everywhere else is cool, right? I mean, what I'm saying.
It's like you asked me to take Trey to an Asian village that kidnap men because they lack men. Going Trey cannot come out of that place alive.
You go in there with your snow bunny.
Hey, I
You know.
get along with white people just fine. I used to hang out with the rednecks in the military all the time.
There you go.
All the time. We get along just fine.
Well, let me
They're a
ask
lot
you guys
more
a
than
question.
money.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, to Trey's point, do you guys think that part of the respecting, well, when it comes to women respecting masculine men, do you think that is part of the reason why they want men who make a certain amount of money? Because that's something that they respect in the man. So, and they know if he doesn't meet their requirements financially, then they're not going to respect them. Do you think that's why they say that?
Yeah, it's incentive.
And,
If there's
and
incentive in
Well,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think the word respect is a relative term because they respect the money.
Right,
The man just happens to have it.
right.
That's different than respecting a man with the money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if that money, yeah. So from that standpoint, you're correct. They'll give the man all the things they think he wants because he can satisfy what they want.
Hmm.
You know, so that's
Oh,
not real because if that money is gone, so will they
Right,
be. You know, so
right.
now here's the thing. We have talked about ideology. We are talking about society. You know, we talk about what has been structured in some places. In the West, in the America alone, it seems to me it's all based on the money. Now, the moment they step out of this country war to go to any other place, that's never been the case. It's only in this thinking that we have the
I don't know
delusional.
about that, Black David.
No, no, no. No. You may say that's the case, but when you deal with multiple cultures, you deal with people from a different culture. Let me say what I say. Money here seems to be the thing about what a woman will go with respect, right? Which is fine. But when you step out, it's more about your value, your moral, your resources, not just money alone. Your resources. I say resources. The difference between money and resources.
No,
People have,
you know what? I'm not gonna say you're
no,
100% wrong, but
don't
it
get me wrong.
depends on where you are.
Money come, money go, but resources is a little different ballgame because when you have something that is tangible, that regardless of what happened to the market, it's still there. It's still there. It's over here. We talk about money a bit too much.
Hey, David, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm about to disagree with you. Eastern European women, Russian
Yeah.
women, Ukrainian women, they about that money.
They're about money.
They about that money.
I just saw a clip from Legion of Men. He did it with the Chinese leftover woman, a woman who's 30 years old, 35 years old. A millionaire came over because they don't like women over 30, right? So she said, yeah, he got one lady said she had a whole laundry list, including that she has money, so she wants the guy to come home, cook to clean, take care of the kids, right? Do all these things that a man would want his woman to do. She wanted him to do, and that's it. That was her rule of the chat. She was saying it in Chinese. So she forget about that, man. Women are women almost.
Yeah, you're gonna be hard pressed. Like you would like even when you go to these other countries, like if you go to Colombia or whatever, in order to find these women that you're talking about, CBN, you got to go to like the countryside. Like you gotta go. You gotta go. Like they live on a farm. That's the girls you gotta fuck. That like they're raised differently. You know what I mean? If you go to Manila, or if you go to Bangkok, or if you go to these big cities in these other countries, these women about that money. They want to see what can you do, and that's just because the city life is typically just different. If you go to even in America, if you go to every city, New York different than Atlanta. Atlanta's different than, you know what I mean? Like the city life is just different. Versus if you go to maybe down south in a pocket in a city that's in a county or a town that's only got 4,000 people, and you meet a beautiful woman, she may have better values because she hasn't been exposed to all that city. Yeah, all that city.
She's probably still living at home. She's probably still living at home with her parents. Yeah. Hey, listen, we're almost coming to the point where we have to go final thoughts. But I think in all of it, so we'll just go around the horn. I don't know, Black David, you can go first, but we got a few minutes. Oh, you're going, all right? So
I'll make it quick and simple.
Yeah.
It's a great topic.
Okay, let's see.
Topic. in a certain way, but in my view, it comes to masculinity. It's never been toxic. It's never been an issue. It's never been a problem. I just feel like women of today's society are just BSing themselves now that whether they've been pushing for the past couple of years now backfiring, all of a sudden they want to be a reset and act like they never did none of this shit. But this shit have been going on for 5 decades and more. So to me, what I'm gonna say is what you sow is what you reap.
All right.
They take it as it is and stop complaining. Put your grown panty on and stop
All
bitching
right.
about it.
All right, Trey, what you got? Well, DD, if you're up there, we'll leave you for last. Go ahead, Trey.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to masculinity, just remember, it can be a lonely, cold sort of kind of existence when you believe in something or you stand for something, and maybe people don't agree with you and maybe people don't like you. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I had a partner when I was on a department, and she was LGBTQ, whatever. She got married and invited me to her wedding, and I told her, I'm not coming to your wedding, and it's against my values and my principles and my beliefs. And she didn't like it, and we're not as cool as we once were, but that's the life of somebody who has values and beliefs, and that's a part of masculinity. And it can be cold, and people might not want to deal with you. They might not want to be around you, but that's a part of having the balls part. Is being able to deal with that and saying, listen, I'm going to move forward anyway because this is who I am as a man. This is what I believe in. We got to get back to it because I'm telling you, masculinity is starting to become a relic. It's starting to become antique. I saw a dude yesterday walking around in sandals. He had toenail polish on. Literally, threw me off. Threw me way off. And honestly, when I looked at him, I would have never thought that. Like, he looked like a regular dude. Until I just had something. I just happened to look down. I'm like, oh wow, he's got on
my God,
toenail polish. And like, that's the direction we're headed in. And so, ladies, if you're single and you happen to get yourself a masculine man, you might want to hold on to him because they going extinct. They're going extinct.
Ooh, man. All right, Didi, what you got? Hey, look, before you go, Trey, I have to tell you, I got this thing. I don't want to see no man's toes.
Right.
I don't even care if they don't even want to see a man's toes.
I don't even remember. Like, maybe I might have dropped something. I don't know. I don't know what made me look down, but something made me look down. I'm like, oh shit, his toenails are painted. And it's just one of these things because we just had Noah Lyles in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Talking about, he had his nails painted, and Dwayne Wade and that whole debacle family thing they got going on there, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you are able to find a masculine man, cherish it, hold on to him, because I'm telling you, they running out.
All right. Okay, Didi, what you got for us?
I don't think that.
Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate
it. No problem. No problem. Even though I'm tired as hell, but that's all right. I don't think masculinity is toxic at all. I think women nowadays are just controlling the very things that they're projecting onto men because they want the control. They want to tell you what to do, where to go, how to dress, every move to make. They want to do the very things that they're complaining about to you guys, to men. Right. And so I just think this whole toxic masculinity is just a way for them to try to flip it around to get what they want. That's just it. But men, I don't believe in that toxic masculinity. I think men are masculine. And that's just what it is. Men are supposed to be masculine and women are supposed to be feminine. That's just how it is. And then that's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. But the problem I think women are having is because they don't want it to go that way. They want to have their way. And men are saying, hell no, we're not doing that. And this is why when you see men who, like y'all would say, stand on their square and not accept the BS, they don't like it. So they just go either have to get used to that, or I don't know, if they go find a feminine man, and that's not going to work either. So I don't know what else to tell them because they don't want either, they have a problem with either one. Then they have many other problems and they're just delusional. That's just my thought.
And no doubt about it. And they don't want to be lesbians because they don't have good relationships there either.
And what is it? 50% of them have it with domestic violence issues now? I saw that earlier.
It's up there.
So that ain't working either.
And their divorce rate is climbing up there too.
Right.
So what if you ask a lesbian, they'll tell you, like, I've had lesbians say, I see what y'all men are complaining about now. Like they'll
Wow.
tell you. Like they're like,
Yeah.
yo, I get it. Like I get it. I get
Mm-hmm.
what y'all complaining about now. It makes
Yeah.
sense. I'm like, yeah, because you see it with your own two eyes.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So listen, I know we're going to bring it out here for a second, but again, it's okay for men to be masculine, right? And we could reclaim the narrative. The thing is that in all the spaces, we need to be consistent. We stop apologizing, you know, challenge folks gaslighting us with those old tropes, and you know, and just keep standing on the square. I think that's how we could move the needle, because I believe even though there's too many women who have trouble with men standing on their square, there's still a few out there who may start to reveal themselves. Right? I think they have to. I'm thinking they're starting to realize that they might have to start making the first moves. They're going to have to start revealing themselves and separating themselves from the women who want to be in control or who don't want masculine men. It's going to be up to a lot of those ladies to say, hey, listen, I'm not one of them, you know, and here's the choosing single I'm giving you. I'm willing to go for a coffee date to find out who you are. I'm willing to go ahead, and if we actually start courting for something serious, I know if I'm working and you're working, it's better that we both pool our money to get ahead, because we can move mountains together as opposed to fooling around. But a man has to keep standing on the square, no matter what. I'm not going to ask you whether I could lead our relationship. I'm gonna just assume it, and that's going to have to be good enough for you. And we're going to have to court each other till you trust me to be that leader for you. You could always say no, but if you say yes, this is how it's going to be. Anyway, Black David, that's it. Thanks, Steve, for showing up. Thanks for folks in the chat, comments, and Trey and Black David. Great. Take us out of here. Got another good show next Monday at 7. We'll have another one for you. All right. Good.